I tell clients all the time that they need to treat this as they would if they were told by a doctor that they have a terminal disease, something that's going to take their life. You know, even if the physician gave some long name to a disease they've never heard of, in very short order, most people would end up becoming an expert on that particular disease, reading everything they could find on the internet, finding books, doing the research. Sexual addiction is such a disorder. It will take everything that a person holds dear. It wants to take their job, their relationships. It threatens their health. It may even threaten their life. The first thing I would say is that a person needs to become an expert on what is sex addiction, also to become an expert on sex addiction recovery. How do they get over it? How do they get beyond that? How can they get out of that pattern of self-destructive behavior? The very first thing they need to do is to get into a 12-step program. Okay. There are a number of 12-step programs like Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and a number of others. Once they get into one of those programs, then to get a sponsor. I think the best way that a person goes about getting a sponsor is to get started in 12-step meetings and just to let people know in the meeting, hey, I need a sponsor. I'm new to recovery. People in the meetings will tell them, who's available to be a sponsor. Other good questions to ask are things like, if you were looking for a sponsor now, who do you think is the best sponsor in this meeting or in this city? If you needed a sponsor, who would you go to?
What does the sponsor do? What's their part of the relationship?
Well, the sponsor's responsibility is to provide accountability for the sexual addict, to provide direction for recovery, provide encouragement along the way. And also, I think it's crucial that a sponsor model sobriety. To select someone as a sponsor who is not living a sober life is accepting less than what they want for themselves. They need someone who already has an established pattern of sobriety. I think it'd be a good thing for a person to ask of a potential sponsor, how long have you been in recovery? How long have you been sober? That's not an off-putting question for someone who is in recovery and doing good work in recovery. So someone who's been in recovery, let's say 15 years, and has 15 days of sobriety, they probably need to be focusing on their own recovery rather than providing any kind of direction for someone else.
Okay, what about a sponsor that's not in a 12-step meeting? What about a friend or...
No, the sponsor does need to be someone who is in recovery themselves from that particular addiction. I've had some people that say, well, I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous as well. I've been sober off drugs and alcohol for the last 10 years. Why can't I use my AA sponsor in SAA? Well, they need someone who understands sex addiction, someone who has walked there, someone who has experienced those same challenges in their life to guide them through the process.
Should the sponsor be the same gender? Should they be opposite gender?
It's always best for it to be the same gender. And not just the same gender, but to make sure that it's not someone that they are attracted to. Whether a person's ever acted out with a same-sex partner or not, I think it's important that there not be any kind of physical attraction or any kind of sexual energy between the two of them.
So it sounds like this process of that first year is really establishing new routines.
All kinds of things are involved. New routines, chief among them, maybe identifying what friends need to go away. As a person in recovery builds new friendships within the recovery community, maybe there's some friends that are threatened by their newfound sobriety. They need to cut ties with those friends. But there's a number of routines that are developed during that first year. Going to meetings, meeting with a sponsor, reading, journaling, doing all of these things and incorporating them into life so that every day there are multiple things that a person is doing for recovery. And then every week there are additional things that they're doing.